Hey y'all! So it's been a while since I've done a little sit down video. I hope you guys have been enjoying the Minecraft. I've personally been having a lot of fun with the world and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. Like I said, I know it was off to a rough start, but I think I've found my peace with it. I'm enjoying building and just having fun with Minecraft, so I hope you guys are too. However, today we're going to be talking about a completely different game. One of my absolute favorite games of all time, probably like top 5 favorite games ever, The Long Dark. So the game is a survival game, and I've titled this video that it's cozy because cozy is a state of mind, okay? For me, this is one of the coziest games for me. Yes, you can die. Yes, it's like somewhat difficult, especially if you're playing on the hardest difficulty. But to me, this is just like one of those games that is like such winter vibes. It's snowing all the time in the game, but it's just like so aesthetic and so pleasing to play. I love this game so much that I actually bought a physical version. I have the PS4 version in a disc. Do I have a PS4? No. Do I have a PS5? No. But I bought it because I love this game so much. I am so sad that there is not a Switch physical because obviously I would have gotten it. But like I said, this is such a beautiful game. Even just like the covers, like I love it. I want to start off by saying that there is something for everyone in this game, kind of. It has a story mode, it has a sandbox survival, and it also has challenges where if you want a little more guidance. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about everything, but please check out this game. Obviously listen to what I have to say, but it is available on basically everything. It's on Steam, it's on, I think it's on Epic Games, it's obviously on PlayStation, it's on Xbox, it's on Switch. Switch is only digital on the eShop, but literally amazing. Another disclaimer is that it's not multiplayer. It's a completely solo game, but I think it's really fun. This is just one of those games that is just so freaking perfect, and I love it so much. Okay, so like I had mentioned, there are technically 3 ways of playing the game. Story mode is called Wintermute, which is an episodic story of The Long Dark. As of right now, it currently has 4 episodes with the 5th and final one coming out later this year. So I think right now is the perfect time to get this game. Because on top of that, they just finished doing a DLC, which they only have 1 DLC. For the longest time, they didn't do DLC, which is what I loved about this game as well. It was completely free updates, but all those updates have been so amazing. Like if you see some of the beta versions of this game, it is like so difficult to follow, honestly, but now they've completely changed the UI. Everything is so easy to follow. In terms of gameplay though, it does kind of just throw you in, especially if you just load up a sandbox. There is basically no tutorial. I like to say that the story mode is kind of a tutorial because you have a lot more things accessible to you, but in reality it's not. The actual tutorial is you watching videos online. So I would suggest if someone who gets frustrated easily, please check out a few videos online just so you can kind of get an idea as to what the game is and how to do certain things, because like I said, no controls are even explained to you, nothing. So that's my one flaw to the game. I wish it did have some type of small tutorial, maybe like the first sandbox you open, or even during the story mode tell you, hey, this is the button for this is the button for that. Here's the quick buttons, you know. No one tells you that you cannot jump in this game, but the space bar is all of your quick actions, so there you go. Anyways, going back to the story mode though, there are 5 episodes, like I said, 4 are currently out. The first one is called Do Not Go Gentle. I'm just gonna read the synopsis for you guys from the Long Dark website. Bush pilot Will Mackenzie and Dr. Astrid Greenwood are separated after their plane crashes deep in the northern Canadian wilderness in the aftermath of a mysterious flash of light in the sky. Struggling to survive as he desperately searches for Astrid, Mackenzie comes across the small town of Milton, where he begins to understand the scope of the quiet apocalypse. So, like I said, the story mode kind of explains why things are happening in the game. So not only is it just surviving in the wilderness, you know, you have your animals that you can hunt and can also kill you, but there's also a like sci-fi aspect to it where there's an aurora, the aurora borealis. It actually affects the animals and the electricity and the it's like a geomagnetic storm. So that's what I really like about it, that it kind of incorporates a realistic aspect of just surviving in a really cold environment to this like sci-fi like cool thing. Episode 2, Mackenzie's search for Astrid takes him deeper into the savage winter wilderness. A mysterious trapper may be the key to finding Astrid, but can he be trusted? Another thing with these stories is that each episode kind of takes place in a different location in the map. So as of right now, the map is really, really big. But at the time that they were making these, the map was really, really small. They came out with like one little world at a time. But now the map has evolved to, now it's actually technically 2 maps. If you have the DLC, it gives you a brand new map. Episode 1 takes place in Milton, which is called Mountain Town on the map. Episode 2 takes place mostly in Mystery Lake, but it also has you go into Forlorn Muskeg and Broken Railroad. Continuing on with episode 3 called Crossroads Elegy. In the aftermath of events in Milton, an enigmatic stranger rescues Dr. Astrid Greenwood from near death. Facing the blizzards of Pleasant Valley, Astrid must bring all her skills as a doctor to bear on the survivors she encounters. But will she find Mackenzie and get closer to the mystery that's taking them to Perseverance Mills? As mentioned, this one takes place in Pleasant Valley, and we play as Astrid, who is one of the characters from the first episode as well. Episode 4 takes us back to Mackenzie, and this is the most recent one. Continuing on with episode 4 though, called Fury Then Silent. A murderous gang of convicts has captured Mackenzie. Desperate to escape one of the darkest corners of Great Bear Island, he must somehow survive his fiercest enemy yet. Can Mackenzie recover the hard case, continue his search for Astrid, and also save the innocents caught up in this deadly confrontation? Like I said, along with the story of why the world is the way it is, you also get like a lot of side quests, and you learn about the people that lived in these areas, and it's just, I feel like it's so cool, and it's such an underrated game. I feel like I never see anyone talking about this. I've seen so many like eShop review videos and just like general games that I loved this year, games that I've been playing, games I've been obsessed with, and never once have I seen this game, and it is so freaking amazing. So according to Wikipedia, I don't know how accurate this is, as of September 2019, 3.3 million copies of this game have been sold. I don't know, I'm assuming this is like mostly PC. And apparently sales also reached 5 million copies by 2021. So I don't know where all these people are going. Why are they not talking about this game more? Because it is literally phenomenal. Talking more about the sandbox version of the game, you have a few different animals that you can encounter. You have the bunnies, the adorable little bunny rabbits, which you kill to eat. There are also deer, which they've now added variety. It used to only be the deer with antlers, and now they have does. Yay, feminism. The deer can sometimes be found as carcasses because the wolves eat the deer. So as well as hunting for the deer yourself, you could also find them. And then of course the wolves, which will be one of your bigger enemies because they will attack you, which is not really true to real life. They even put a disclaimer right at the beginning of the game. But it's just, that was the first predator in the game, and I guess they just kind of wanted something a little more simple that they could scatter around. But the wolves are one of your biggest enemies. Those are basically in every single region of the map. The wolves actually have 2 different varieties. There's the normal wolves that are still found in packs, but their attack is a little bit different from the timber wolves, which timber wolves will be specifically in packs, and they will attack you in packs as well. So you really have to be careful with those, and I hate going into those regions, no offense. Those are my least favorite. 2 of the more recent animals that they've added are the moose and the bear. I believe the bear was first, and the bears can be found in different regions. They're usually solo, and they have a cave that they will go to and sleep in. The other thing is that once you kill animals, it's not like they're completely gone. They will refresh after a little while. I think they have, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, I'm sure they have certain times where they will respawn and stuff like that. But next are the moose, which I love these. These will also attack you, which is kind of crazy. I know that moose can be kind of vicious in real life, but I don't think they're this crazy. They will literally stomp on you in game and break your ribs, which could be very fatal. And all of these are not technically like you're done for the game. You know, if you can survive wolf attacks, you can survive bear attacks and moose attack, but it's just, it'll send you down in percentage. You need to apply bandages for blood loss, you need to take painkillers for pain, you need antiseptic in case of infection. You know, there's so many things that you need to know about, and it's such a fun game. It is pretty easy to learn. There's not like that many crazy things, but along with those like pills, they also have natural remedies in the game. So different teas will also provide you with painkillers, antiseptic, the qualities of it. And there's a bunch of different drinks and foods in the game, like packaged candy bars, packaged beef jerky, as well as a lot of cute drinks. There's like a Sprite wannabe, a Summit soda. There's a grape soda named after Miss Stacy Plays herself. If you guys have ever watched her channel, she mostly does Minecraft content, but she's like one of my favorite YouTubers. I'm surprised it took me this long to get here. She is actually the reason that I even found The Long Dark. I believe I started playing it back in 2020-ish, so it's been a few years that I've been playing, but she has been playing it since the beta, so that is how she managed to get herself in the game with Stacy's grape soda, which I absolutely love for her. Every time I see it, I'm always like, yes, Miss Girl, love it. One of the biggest reasons I really wanted to make this video, and again, going back to the cozy aspect, this is what I think has absolutely nailed it as a cozy game for a lot of people. You can now decorate and completely customize your safe houses. So in the game, there are different buildings. Obviously, you're not completely stuck outside. There are different buildings that you can live in and, you know, claim as your little area. Before this update, you could technically decorate it with your own tools and put food down and whatever you need to. But now you can completely customize things like tables and painting and other types of furniture that you normally could not even touch. There also used to be like papers that would be dusted around on the floor, or, you know, just random like trash things. You can now completely remove them. And I remember going back to Stacy, I remember one time in one of her streams, she mentioned how she wanted, like, can I just sweep please? Like, and it was so funny. And I can't believe they listened to her. They're letting her sweep. Along with that, there's also a really good cooking system. There are, like I mentioned, there's lots of different foods that you could find in the world. Like tomato soups, canned peaches, even dog food. But you can now take those items that you find and turn them into an actual recipe, which will fill you up more and it'll be more satisfying. They also have different boosts, so as well as just warming you up because you have some warm food inside you, it also helps you in different aspects. They each have their own different perks to them. And I'm not entirely sure how this works. I believe I remember reading about it at some point, that you can actually find little recipe cards in the visors of cars. I personally have never found one, so I don't know what on earth happened to that, but apparently you can find recipes and you'll like learn a little lore about them and then be able to cook them, which I think is so cool. Along with that, I think this game is so beautiful. It has such an amazing scenery. It's not the most super hyper realistic game. It has its own unique art style, which again is one of my favorite things about it. I personally have only reached like a 50-day run. I think I currently am still working on it, but that's the farthest I've gotten, and that's because I'm not even playing on the hardest difficulty. So yay. Along with that, there's like so many different ways that you could possibly die. You could die of blood loss, whether you get attacked by something. You could die of starvation, you could die of thirst. Obviously, you can freeze to death if you're not wearing enough clothing or if you're just outside in a freaking blizzard. And then there's also some stupid ones, like if you're already really low on health and you happen to step on top of your own campfire, guess what? You just burn to death. There's also instances where you can fall off of a bridge. Talking to you, Stace. I haven't forgotten about that one. And then of course, if you're already low on health, I did mention that you can survive them, but you could obviously also die to your very obvious bear, wolf, and moose attack. As for the challenges, I'm like having the time of my life going through these because they provide different end game for you to work towards. One of them has to do with a bear, which kind of coincides with the story mode a little bit, but like it's completely separate, so you could technically do them in whatever order you want. I think the challenges are honestly really fun, and it's a wide variety. Just to name off a few, one of the first ones is just getting from one point of the map to another, and you have to get there within a certain time point. There's the bear one that I was telling you about. It's actually two parts, two separate challenges, where first you have to escape from the bear to get to a certain area, and then once you get to that area, you get a weapon, and then now you have to chase the bear and hunt him down. In Whiteout, you have to collect enough materials to survive a predicted blizzard, which is kind of interesting because I like to think of that as like a prequel to the actual story that we're playing. Like, I like to think that we are playing as a person who has not experienced what we've experienced yet, and they're like freaking out and they don't know what they're doing, and they're like, holy shit, I just need to stock up on food and firewood and everything, and they're like, what is happening? You know, that's what I like to think of as in that story. But you do experience all of the auroras and the crazy wildlife. There's also some that take you across the entire map, like Nomad and Archivist. Nomad is where you have to survive for 3 days in each 15 specific locations across the world. So this one is honestly really hard because you have to be stocking up on food, and I believe this one is not technically in the hardest difficulty, so food is pretty plentiful. But the other thing about this game is that you can become encumbered if you're carrying way too much. So you're either walking way too slow or you don't have enough food and water on you. As for Archivist, during the Aurora, you have to collect buffer memories from across Great Bear Island at the locations listed in your journal. So you have different locations that you need to visit, and there is technology in the game. Like, there are some computers and laptops scattered around, even radios. But they do not become active unless it's an aurora, which only happens at night and which happens on random night. With this game mode, they do kind of bump up the chances of an aurora happening just so that you can obviously get the achievement. But the last couple, which I think these are the last two that I need, are As the Dead Sleeps, where you have to visit all the grave sites marked on your map. There is no time limit. As your life ebbs, death is the only barrier, which is really hard. It's literally, this one takes you literally across the map. I believe it's only 4 or 5 different locations that you have to get to, but it is, like I said, on the hardest difficulty. You have the worst weather, you have the least amount of food and water spawns. I don't think you get really any weapons in the game unless you really search them out, but it is really hard. And then the last one was actually one that they originally had as a Halloween event, and they turned it into a part of the game in this challenge mode, so because people just loved it so much. It's called Escape the Darkwalker, where you have to search for green fires, learn all you can about the Darkwalker. Knowledge will help you find a way to defeat the enemy. So if you ever played Slender, it's basically like finding all the pages and trying to stay away from Slender Man. Basically like that, except you have a Darkwalker, you have, you're going across different maps, so there's a few challenges there. You have these like sigils where you can repel him and then ward him and different things. So it's honestly really challenging. The last two I said are on a level 6 difficulty, whereas the other ones are 3, 4s, and 5s. So those are the hardest ones. As I said, I think this is literally the perfect time to play the game because the game is technically about to be complete from my understanding, because they have recently announced The Long Dark 2, which is going to be called Black Frost. I have a lot of really high hopes for this game, considering The Long Dark itself has come from so far within the past decade that it's been around. Like I mentioned earlier, The Long Dark is not multiplayer, but from the looks of it, they either have a really progressed story mode or they're really trying to work at getting multiplayer into The Long Dark 2. So again, I'm really excited for the second game, but this first game, now is the time to play it. As for the DLC, as I mentioned, they only have one DLC out right now because they've just been pushing updates for the entire game. You purchase it once and you get as many updates as they put out. But in my opinion, the DLC offers a lot more story than the actual story mode, and it expands upon the sandbox. So it gives you a story within the sandbox, kind of. I don't really know how else to explain it. But you play in a sandbox world and you have to unlock the DLC, which is called Tales from the Far Territory. So it completely unlocks a brand new map for you called the Far Territory. Like I said, you have to physically go into this region. Like, you have to load up a save into the normal game, and then you have to go to that new region. You have to literally discover it yourself, which I think is really cool. But then obviously once you've been in that territory, then you can access it from the map whenever you want to and start up a new game in there. But Tales from the Far Territory allows you to access so much more story that is almost like a little more dark, and I really love it. It gives you a lot more accessories and there's a lot more weapons, as well as, like I said, a lot more lore, and it's almost very like creepy. It's really interesting. You have to play for it yourself to understand what I'm talking about, but It is just something else, and I really love it. It goes on to a different story than the storyline, which is why I understand they did it separately, but it's really cool. It talks more about like what the people who live there were doing, and it doesn't really talk about the geomagnetic storm, but it also gives us another weather type called glimmer fog. Similar to the aurora in the sense that it only happens occasionally, the glimmer fog will happen in the Forsaken Airfield location, and it will give you insomnia, which it sounds like you won't be able to sleep, but in my experience it lets me sleep, but your sleep is just not getting recovered all the way. You're still in the sleeping UI, but your sleep is not being healed as much. Just to briefly go through it, the DLC was divided into 6 parts. They just recently finished part 6 in December, so I want to say it took about a year or so for the full DLC to be out. Just going through some key points of each part. Part 1 was called the Forsaken Airfield, which gave her the transfer pass, which is how you're transferring over to the new region, the far range branch line, which is one of the new regions, and the Forsaken Airfield. So 3 new regions and an entirely new map in this part 1. Part 2 was called Signal Void, which included a new challenge called Signal Void, obviously. The key point of this one that I really liked was that it gave us acorns and oak trees, which acorns can be used to make a lot of the new recipes, and they're so plentiful, and they're throughout the entire map. They're not just in that new region. Part 3 gave us a Frontier Comforts, which completely gave us all the recipes, and they also added ptarmigan. I think that's how you say it. They're the little birds. I think they're pronounced ptarmigan. I completely forgot to mention those in the animals because they're so brand new, but you can kill those and eat them, I believe. I haven't done that before. But in this specific part, they gave us 7 new recipes, 15 simple recipes, and 9 unique recipes, which I believe those 9 unique ones would be the ones that you could find in the visors. They also added the ability to ice fish from anywhere in the world that has ice. Before that, there had to be a fishing hut there with an already made ice hole, and that was the way that you were able to fish in the game. Part 4 is Buried Echoes, which gave us a new region, the Zone of Contamination, which is a crazy region. Like, I would love to see a 100-day run of that region completely, because that would be literally insane. I hate this region so much. No offense. I hate it so much. I hated being there. But it also gave us another tale called Buried Echoes. And they gave us new tools, including the travois, respirator, and canisters. Obviously, if you could kind of put 2 and 2 together, the Zone of Contamination is contaminated with some type of gas. I can't remember exactly what it is, but you have to be wearing a respirator and you have to be switching out canisters so that you can breathe and survive there. As well as they added poisoned wolves, which are just wolves that have been in this area for so long that they've kind of been affected by it and will be a lot more aggressive and a lot more fucking crazy. One of my favorite things that they added in this part specifically, though, is the insulated flask, which for me personally, it doesn't last very long, but it basically keeps your drinks warm for a longer time. So if you have a coffee and you want to have the effect of staying warm because it provides you with warmth bonus, you could keep it in your insulated flask and it'll be warm for longer, which I love. They're so freaking cute. There's a few different varieties of them, but they are so adorable. As for part 5, called Last Horizon, they added another region called Sundered Pass, and this one is very mountainous and absolutely insane, as well as the last challenge that they added called Last Horizon. And I believe this is the last part of that DLC storyline. However, they did add 2 new feats, which are kind of like badges similarly, called the Settled Mind and the Celestial Navigator, which you get from completing the DLC storyline, as well as a new animal, which is the cougar. And the cougar did not stay very long. A lot of players were really upset with the cougar and they did not like the way that it worked. However, I sadly did not get to play with it. I think I was busy the one freaking day that it came out. It worked in a very interesting way where it has like a territory system. So depending on how long you've been in a region, a cougar will slowly start stalking you and then realizing your scent, and eventually they will attack you. There is a way to kill it, but it's like really difficult. And they did add a cougar claw knife and a cougar hide wrap. So if you are able to kill it, you can make tools and clothing with its dead body. In this part 5, they also added Misery Mode, which I guess the hardest mode just wasn't hard enough for some people. They made it even freaking harder. So if you're crazy, you want to do that, go ahead. They also added a cheating death system. So like I had mentioned earlier, every save that you make would have been a just, if you die, game over, kind of like a hardcore Minecraft. It's completely over. All that you can save are your stats. So however many days you lived, animals you killed, food that you ate, regions that you visited, things like that. That was the only thing that you could save from your worlds. As of now, they've added a death system, which from my understanding, if you cheat death, you will spawn somewhere completely different. There are two different options. It'll either give you a safe respawn point, which means it'll respawn you somewhere safe, but you will have less of your items that you died. Or you could do the opposite, where you can respawn with majority of your items, but you'll be in a much harsher environment, and you could possibly be halfway across the world from, you know, where you originally were. I personally don't think I'm going to be using the cheat death system. I'm just so good at the game. I haven't died, so I haven't been able to experience it, but you know, for you guys that are bad or whatever, I guess you could try it. I'm just kidding. I probably will be using that eventually because I'm not the best at the game. However, in the saves that I do have, I'm like pretty fucking goated, not gonna lie. I have a million tools. I have so much food. I've killed like 30 bears. I am good to go for a while. And in the final part 6, called Broken Silence, they added so much to the game. It's basically game changer. So basically, I lied earlier. They added a new tale called Sutherland's Tale. I don't think I've played very much with this part other than the customization part, which again, you can completely decorate your safe houses so much. It is so cool. I will say the one flaw to it is that the parts that you need to actually be able to build furniture are really hard to find, and I think there's only like 3 spawn points in the entire world, which is frustrating, but it kind of pushes you. It's like, hey, you want to be cutesy and you want to decorate? Okay, go halfway across the world, bitch. Let's see how dedicated you are. They also added an instant camera and film, so you can actually take pictures in the game, and again, with the customization, you can put them up on your walls and tables and stuff, which I think is really cute. It's like, it adds a little something, you know? They also added the revision of the cougar, so it is back in the game now. They added a bunch more variants to tools and weapons, all the kinds, everything that you could possibly need, as well as a lot of the clothing. They added new clothing, so decorate your bitch out, you know? Another disclaimer, you cannot build your own character. I hope that they add that in the second game, but you cannot customize your character. It's just, you either play as Astrid or Mackenzie from the story mode. So those are your options. Sorry guys. But like I said, despite the disclaimers and despite the few things that are like, this game is flawless and I love it so freaking much. And just a reminder, this game is available literally everywhere. If you have a PlayStation, if you have an Xbox, if you have a Switch, if you have a PC, literally get this game. The only place it's not available on is mobile, but you don't need to play it on mobile. Get one of the other options. No offense. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have been ranting for way too long, but I hope you guys see just how much I love this game. It is such an amazing game. I'm so excited for the finale of the story mode, and I'm so excited for the second game. I cannot wait for it to come out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, please go check out this game. I will leave links down below to get it on the different stores and whatnot. I'm not being sponsored or anything. I know this literally sounds like a sponsored video, but I just love this game so freaking much. Please go check it out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!